Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. AITA for not letting my fiancé's friend come to the wedding. When my fiancé and I were planning our wedding, he brought over his guest list, and one name in particular struck out to me as being very noteworthy. My middle school and high school bullies were the same individual. Then he began throwing spitballs at me and placing rotting food on my desk, leading the other pupils to believe it was I who was the perpetrator. He also had a shellfish allergy, which meant that he could be in the same room as shellfish but could not consume it. In one case, he was aware that I microwaved shellfish and would stand in front of me, blocking my access to the microwave, accusing me of making him sick, and then getting the assistance of all his friends to harass me. Even when I wasn't carrying any seafood, he would tell me I smelled fishy and even referred to it as a filthy Chinese stink when I wasn't. I was in front of him on a regular basis, and he made the racial comment about my eyes as well. It was brought to my attention by my fiancé, who basically justified him by saying that everyone was a jerk in high school and that we were now adults, and that I should forgive and forget. I was certain that this guy would not be allowed into our home, and he agreed. His acquaintance was the son of a family friend, so if he couldn't make it, the rest of the family couldn't too. His next move was to bring my bully into my office without my knowledge. He apologized for everything that had happened, claiming he couldn't recall anything except apologizing for everything that had happened to me. I shouted at him, telling him to get off my property. He is furious with me because I was mean to his friend, and we had a screaming argument about it during which he insisted on not removing his friend off the list, and I told him he could marry his friend instead. Story 2. AITA for not telling my wife about my daughter. I, a 42-year-old guy, have one view on this problem, but there are folks who I believe have a prejudiced opinion claiming otherwise, so I wanted to check here for perspective. Technically, I am still married to my wife, Jessica, 45 female, but we are divorcing. I want a divorce, but she doesn't, and is making it tough for me. She wants to work things out in marital therapy, but to be honest, she has utterly broken my trust to the point that I worry where she is and what she's doing when she isn't right in front of me, which is no way to live. She has even enlisted the help of family members, mostly her own, but also my mother and the children, 18F and 15M. None of them want me to divorce, and the kids are upset that I'm not even attempting to split while their mother puts on a show. I've attempted to explain my point of view, but kids won't listen until I tell them I made a mistake, will move back in, and will not divorce their mother. It's come to the point that whenever I phone or contact them, all they want to talk about is when I'll be returning home, and they won't discuss anything else about their life with me until I move back in. I was recently approached by a young lady named Brittany, 23 female, who claimed to be my daughter and wanted to know if I would be ready to undergo a DNA test. I consented to take the exam, and she's now mine. I obviously apologized for not being in Brittany's life, and we've been gently getting to know one another. I told my dad, and he's overjoyed to have another grandson, but I was worried over how to break the news to my other children, considering how stressful everything is, and decided that telling them in person would be the best way to handle it. I asked the kids if they wanted to meet with me, and they brought their mother, which I had asked them not to do. And you can imagine how well that went. I stood up and went away, and the kids threatened to never talk to me again if I didn't come back and sit down. I continued going after telling them that I'd text them something really essential in an hour. True to my promise, I attempted but was unsuccessful. I was a wreck, and the only thing that made me feel better was Brittany's surprise visit. We were going around the city when a friend of Jessica's or one of the kids saw us and emailed us a photo. I was getting a lot of flack on social media, and Brittany was getting a lot of slurs, especially in light of her ethnicity. I eventually decided to create my own post with images, stating to everyone that she was my long-lost daughter, and my father and sister supported me in this. That appeared to quiet everyone down, and Karen texted me, unhappy that I hadn't told her. Personally, I didn't feel obligated to say anything to her and wanted my children to know without her instant opinion. AITA for not simply expressing it during the meeting and letting the chips fall. AITA. Because these questions were brought to me through message, I've decided to answer them here instead than elsewhere. Simply said, I want to be clear. It has been many years since my parents separated, and I, ironically, have a temporary no-contact order with my mother since she is also attempting to reconcile their marriage. She didn't inform Karen or the kids since none of them were aware of what was going on, and my sister has a different mother from mine and only talks to her on rare occasions outside of family gatherings. Jessica and I had never met before Brittany was born, so I had always been committed to her. Brittany is a person of mixed race. From a distance, you could think I'm an older guy with a much younger girlfriend, since her mother is African American, though my father believes she's the spitting image of his grandmother, and from a distance, you might think I'm an older man with a much younger girlfriend. At a 2. Everyone was required to take a step back and then come back to the table. I saw a recurring trend of individuals expressing interest in the details of Jessica's betrayal of my confidence. I wasn't going to say anything since I didn't understand why it was important to share my thoughts. If you won't say, it's because he's hiding something horrible he's done. And, if you're innocent, you'll blow the whistle lines. I wasn't having the best of reactions. However, after hearing some compassionate words and well-intentioned counsel, as well as how not telling my children the truth would have a negative effect on Brittany, I chose to place the blame on those who were just being inquisitive about my situation. In light of this, and the fact that some people have already guessed what it is, I've decided to share it with you all right now. It was early in our relationship that my wife cheated on me, and I know at the very least that my second daughter is not my biological daughter, but she is tied to me. That is to say, my STBX had an extramarital affair with a male relative. I'm not sure how I know this. She had gotten into a fight with a prior friend, who decided to take vengeance on her and notify me that she had been secretly stealing money from one of our joint accounts and transferring it elsewhere. To protect my cousin, Luke, from finding out about their sleeping together, she handed over the money to him in the form of a check. Initially, she sought to gaslight and minimize the situation, and I was almost caught in by her deception until I inquired as to when this originally happened. Every time I questioned her, she resented it, and we battled until she made a mistake and changed the dates in her tale. I pretended to give in and did a secret DNA test on Jessica, only to face her when the findings indicated that she was not my biological daughter. Her deception had outraged me since she had not only lied to me, but she had also used her pregnancy to push me into marriage. I had been on the verge of ending my relationship with her before to the pregnancy, and she had also played a role in Luke's death. Luke had an obsession with street medicine, and when his family chose to cut him off until he found help, Luke blackmailed Jessica to get her to change her mind. In the aftermath of his death, his parents, my aunt and uncle, were the most distraught, and they felt they had done something wrong by rough-loving him to death. My family, both immediate and extended, will be crushed by this, and Jessica is well aware that I will not say anything about it. Although a part of me would want to keep this a secret forever, because I don't want it to affect the children, I'm also concerned about what may happen in the future if everyone knows. Furthermore, it increases the possibility that my child is not biologically my own child. In Monopoly Land, Jessica's word isn't worth a dime, despite the fact that she says she's always been faithful. Jessica insists she's been devoted to Luke since long before my kid was born. Luke died years before my son was born.